Welcome to Go Sports Live. I'm Matty Marshall. I got Todd Martinez in the seat today. We're also going to have Mike Bianca, coach of the New Orleans Hurricanes, who have been doing really well in their rookie year. Jesus Christ, these guys are amazing. Can't wait to chop it up with Mike. He's a great paintball mind. And we got one of the best paintball minds to start the show off here. Again, Todd Martinez, coach of Houston Heat, getting the bye into the top 4 for the Champions Cup. So we're going to talk about the format for the Champions Cup today, get Todd's thoughts on the league. Potential opponents heading into the World Cup, where the Champions Cup is going to be hold $40,000 at stake. We got a lot to talk about. Todd, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Matty. Thanks for hollering at me. Always fun to come on the show, talk with you. Say what's up to Mike, see how he's doing. Some good games with them out there in Chicago. So nice little Friday.
Yeah. So, we just got a decent amount to talk about here. Let's just start with your team, Houston Heat. So, with the Champions Cup format, the way that things work is the teams that win the major events. We have 3 major events. And so that was Dynasty twice and then Edmonton Impact at the last one. Those teams get a bye. Now, Damage was tied for 3rd with Impact. Actually, you guys were sitting at 2nd overall, but the Damage didn't make Sunday. So that made it the case where Impact wins the 3rd major. Dynasty wins the first 2. They both get byes. Since, we didn't get 3 teams to win a major, we then immediately go to that 3rd ranked team. And that's you guys. And by a decent amount, too. 660 overall. And with Damage not make it Sunday, ended up at 540 overall points here. Again, heading into World Cup, heading into Champions Cup, which is a brand new format for this year. And so let's just start with the squad. You guys made it deep again. You guys have been incredibly consistent. It has been over a year since you put up a win. But other than the very first event of the last season, you guys have been on a bit of a tear. You win the 2nd event last year, super consistent last year. And then this year, a 6th, a 3rd, a 2nd, a 6th, and a 4th. So always in the hunt, always a favorite. So let's just kind of start with how you're feeling overall about the squad right now. Are you obviously, I know you're not satisfied because you haven't won one this year, but just let's just, because you have been mixing it up quite a bit. So just overall, how you feeling about the squad right now?
Well, I really got no complaints. The family really takes care of us. Mama D and Sarge. They're a top-notch organization. Everything they do for us, they give us every opportunity to win. And for us, really, it's just been about finishing this year. Every game we've lost, I think since I've been the coach, except for maybe one, the Dynasty game in Philly has been a 1-point game, right? Like, it's always been close games. We just haven't played complete from start to finish. We got to do a better job of closing in crunch time, but Randy doesn't want us to make excuses for stuff. We just have to play better. For whatever reason, we just have to step it up when in those close games. I mean, the Impact game came down to overtime. The Impact game in Dallas was an overtime game. 1-point overtime game in Florida, right? Like all these 1-point overtime games throughout the season is the reason why we are where we are. So I think that we have a lot to be happy about, but still work to be done to be a better finishing team, close out matches, and win tournaments. But yeah, our team has so much fun all the time. We love being together, right?
You could tell. I've known it's so, he was one of those teams that I feel that, people look, everyone's going to kind of talk a little bit of shit about teams. They're like, let's get family on 3. Let's get in here. Let's get a family. Come on, let's get a family. And then when you hear with, Houston Heat, superstar squad, they pay all their dudes. Like, yeah, it's family. That's more of a job for those guys. Yeah, maybe in 2012, but for the past 10 years, that there's definitely been a family that's been built up there. And a lot of those guys have been on that team for a long stretch of time, since the beginning and since the that very first couple seasons. And so there has been a really good bond there. I got a chance to play with some of those guys when we played 10-man on with Cat Factory, and then was actually there the weekend after Tyler left Dynasty to go to Houston Heat. And so when we had this long ass delays where we're just sitting around talking for like 4 hours at a stretch before we could get a game in, and like Chad's there and Ryan's there and they're crushing beers and they're having a good time and smoking dudes in the woods. And it was just glorious, and I'm like, yeah, I totally understand why they do look at it as a family. That's no bullshit, man. That's a real thing with Houston Heat. So and then all the moms show up, and it is a very supportive environment. And and you got to give props to the paintball patrons. Also, ridiculously entertaining squad because things have been a little crazy for you guys. Like you said, lots of close games. We got.
Can you hear those?
Is that Shay?
Yeah, I got Shavy the baby.
Is that Shavy the
baby?
baby?
Say hi to Matty real quick. Say hi to Matty.
Hi.
Hi, you adorable little girl. How you doing? So yeah, Houston Heat, it's been an entertaining ride for you guys because you have a ton of close games. You'll also just randomly drop games in the prelims to make it interesting as well too. But your plus minuses at the last one was pretty solid, a +10 with that 4th place finish, losing to Impact by 1 in the semifinals. Then you guys had a +7 at the 4th event, and then going back to the third event, where you guys took a 2nd place, but it was a +3. So, I mean, you've had just like tons of roller coaster games. It's been super close, and you've been mixing it up quite a bit. So maybe, again, we're going to have Mike Bianca come out here, and he's on the, coaching the Hurricanes. They've had some close games too. They just went 4-0 in the prelims at the last one. If they do that at this Champions Cup, we could see them go deep, rookie team go deep. That would be pretty historic. But how do you manage the pits when it's close? Because you have all these close games. You do occasionally, like all teams, drop games, and then you have to get the team mentally focused. A lot of people out there, either players or coaches, that are wondering, okay, how the hell do you do that? Like, what's the magic sauce in those situations? Because you've been in a lot of those in your career as a player and now as a coach, especially most recently.
Well, the thing about our pit is that Randy Smith handles our pit. He's the leader back there, and he always tries to get a consistent crew. We have Randy, John Monville, and we had Gary Hyde, for a long time. So we had like our core, like our big 3 in the pit, right? And then we always make sure we get like a good supporting staff. So everything as far as, what we need for the points is managed. We have Pat McKenna as our offensive coordinator. So he's keeping an eye on multiple things, and we're having, multiple conversations throughout matches, and, during the day, we're watching all different stuff so that we're prepared for things. Cause, at the end of the day, it's all about preparation, being ready for any sort of situation that might arise. But we also have very intelligent players. We have really good relationships. We're able to talk to each other freely. We're able to understand the situations that are going on the field because everybody has such a high level of experience. I can go to the players on the team and ask them questions and get honest answers. But I think that the fact that everybody on the team always wants to win first and foremost, I never have those problems that other teams have where, guys are always putting the team first. So, at the end of the day, we're just trying to put the best 5 on the field at that moment in time so that we can win points and keep playing paintball.
Let's kind of break down a little bit to the way you've been utilizing your roster. So I'm guessing that because you have the pit, you have the awesome pit crew, things are managed there. You have all the best equipment. You have an offensive coordinator kind of coming, giving you tendencies, giving you suggestions, but you have to call the plays and you have to call the personnel. You've been utilizing a lot of different guys, which has been interesting. Fedorow's been in and out as far as he's been able to get there, hasn't been able to get there. Obviously, he's one of the best ever when he's there. But you have guys that, like Ronnie Dizon. I mean, he's a badass player too, man. And he's on his best days, he's a MVP caliber candidate to attack. So it's like, how are you kind of mixing that up? How are you deciding who your go-to guys are? Because that's another thing too. If you're a coach out there, or if you're a player having to deal with this too, thinking, okay, I feel like I'm playing really well here. Why am I not getting the spins I should be getting? How do you deal with that mentally? And then as some of these people trying to guide the ship as either the leaders on teams or, the actual coaches of the squads, as far as who should or should not be getting spins, kind of break that down a little bit. Cause you have been really mixing it up. You've been, everyone's kind of had their chances to shine out there for the most part.
Yeah. So it's actually been kind of interesting, and I'll just start with this year. So, even though we have 10 guys on the roster, we've been missing guys every event, right? The first event, Chad George goes down on Saturday, like the last point on Saturday. So we don't have him for Sunday. In Dallas, Ryan Smith was not there. In Philly, we didn't have Fedorov. In Sacramento, we only had 7 guys, no Fedorov, no Mishka, and no Ryan Smith. This last event, no Mishka. Tyler was only at practice for 1 day. Fedorov missed the first weekend. Ronnie got sick 2 days into practice, missed a few days. So it's just like, it's always next man up, right? And the way Chicago kind of went down too, like with all those guys missing days, I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on how we needed to play the field, but not having Fedorov the first weekend and not having Tyler the second weekend, I plugged them into spots where I should have put other guys. Like, I feel like I knew the field, but I put those guys in support spots instead of attack spots. And I should have just put them in their natural habitat. When you got the stallions, you just got to let the stallions run free. When you got the tiger, just release them in the jungle and let them go hunt. Right. So
throw some stakes out there
after we
put some blood on the stakes,
right. So, I mean, it's unfortunate for, having a roster full of really talented guys because, there's always going to be somebody that's, not going to get to play as much as they like. But, we kind of got into desperation mode on Saturday right away because we had to win games. We had to win big. And right off the bat, I can't remember who our first game was against, Uprising maybe. On
which
Saturday?
Yeah. Your last
Chicago.
At the last of it was against, and you beat Uprising 6-3.
Yeah, so I'm putting out squads again to get guys into a rhythm. We need to get into rhythm. We need to win points consistently. We need to run up the score as much as we possibly can to get that good plus minus. And we won those 2 games. We got in, and then the rain came down on Sunday, but, we felt more comfortable playing the way that we had practiced. And, I do what I feel like I have to do at that moment. I try and plan for getting everybody involved because I like to get everybody involved. It allows you to diversify your attack. But at the same time, we have to win points, right? We're down 0-2, and we got to win 2 games, win big, then go into Sunday. And, the whole new tournament starts. You got to win points there. Everyone counts. We knew we were going to have tough games, and we do what we have to do. And it's, you don't want to be regretful of the decisions you make at the time because you have practice, you have experience, you have years in the game, but there's every guy on my team is a killer, and I love to get them all involved. And I definitely need to do a better job of figuring out, over a course of time, like how I can really utilize the strengths of our team because we just have that many good guys, and, I want them all in the field.
To me, I feel overall, if I had to give an MVP, I would give it to Tyler. I feel like he's played the most amount of points for you guys throughout the entire year. He seems to be your go-to guy who's on every line, almost every single point he plays, and at a elite level. Very rarely am I looking at a game and thinking, man, Tyler's been struggling for more than a couple points in a row. Everyone is going to get shot a couple points in a row. It happens to the most. Oliver, Ryan, Tyler, Fedorov, whatever, Lasoya, pick your best, baddest ass dude in the world out of a hat. He's going to have a rough stretch every now and then for 3, 4, 5 points in a row. It just happens. It doesn't matter. But it just happens so rarely to Tyler. He's so tight. He's so in it. He's so vicious out there. It's interesting. And then, Chad is just such an offensive weapon when he can get into the snake untouched. I mean, if he makes it off the break, Jesus Christ, dude, there's a reason Chad George is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer for snake players, once that time comes. I played a 10-man with him in the woods, and he ran down this side, jumps over a ravine, dodges a tree, a root, a big ass, another bush, and then dives into this little trench, crawls in this baby snake trench, comes up, starts stitching dudes, shoots 5 or 6 dudes. I didn't say anything. I'm just watching from the sidelines, and some random divisional players that are sitting there watching this is dude, Chad George they're just clapping. They're like, oh my God, Chad George will literally turn anything into a snake, So yeah, that dude is insane. But you guys were losing Chad a little bit. When you have a Chad George on your team, he's going to get sweet spotted, man. People are going to focus on him. You started to lose him quite a bit. How did you kind of react to that? And what were you telling him? How was he handling that?
Well, I mean, we kind of figured at practice, after breaking down the field pretty quickly, that the snake guy was the most vulnerable spot to shoot on the break if you're going to try and run. But then we go into the event and, kind of got tricked by some of those early games into thinking that, it was more makeable than it was. And we ran a little bit early, but, at the end of the day, we kind of knew how we wanted to play that snake side. And it made way more sense to shoot heavy on that snake side than it did on that Dorito side, because guys could get into that Dorito one low and fast. So, part of the reason why Friday played out the way it did was because we kind of came out of character a little bit and ran more than we should have due to what we saw in the morning games. And, that kind of hurt us, because we still ended up playing a 1-point overtime game against the Hurricanes and a 1-point might have been overtime game against the Russians, both games that we could have won. And that's the difference between being 4-0 and being 2-2, trying to get in on a point margin, right, to Sunday. So having a guy like Chad George, it's always so tempting just to set him free, just to launch him, let him go kill people. But at the same time, I need, as a coach, I need to be responsible and make sure that I'm not getting him shot on the break, because it's hard when you're fast and you're small and you're the best, and you send them, but you're just running through hot zones, two guys with clear shots shooting directly at you. It's a tough decision to make, but that's the reason why I love Chad George, because he's so smart, so patient, and he's so versatile. He can play either game. I can send him to the snake head first, or I can send him to a spot where he can play on his feet, shoot, talk, stay alive. And, he's shown time and time again, not just as long as I've been the coach, but as long as he's been on Heat, that he can play any type of paintball that the team needs him so that we can win.
It's tempting. If you have, Chad George is the paintball version of a 500-pound Bengal tiger who hasn't been fed in 2 weeks. So if you have the ability, it's very tempting to just dude, I just want to send him to the snake one off the break, because if he makes it and he gets in there alive and they don't shoot him, and you're like, okay, Chad, and he wants to go. You're like, oh, Chad, let's go snake off the break. And he's like, oh yeah, he wants to do it. And he wants to be, taken off the leash too. And then he gets shot off the break, and you're like, oh, what are the chances that he's going to get shot twice off the break? It could happen. And let's send him there again. Oh shit, he got shot again. You're like, okay, but 3 times, he's not going to get shot 3 times off the break. That's impossible. Anyway, so it's frustrating, but still, you guys, you lost 2 games. So we got Mike Bianca, waiting essentially in the green room. He's going to be coming on in a little bit. I'm looking forward to picking his brain too. You guys had 2 games against the Hurricanes. You lost right out the gates of the Hurricanes by 1, very close game, overtime, and then you beat them by 1 in the quarterfinals. What are your thoughts on the Hurricanes right now? Because, because it's new, a lot of people really haven't been, I feel like, chopping it up about the Champions Cup, but it's a really interesting format. You guys get, the grace of getting the bye, which you earned, into the top 8, and top 8 gets paid. So you guys are getting paid no matter what. It's $40,000 for first place at the Champions Cup. So, and then the top 4, Houston Heat, Edmonton Impact, San Diego Dynasty, and the Tauntauns, who won the European Championship. So that's the top 4. They're going to play a seeding round to figure out, 1 through 4, because then they need 4 more teams to get into the quarterfinals. Now, how the 4 teams get there is pretty cutthroat, because it goes 20 teams. So the 17 that are left over from the United States, and then you have 2 more European teams coming in, Breakout Spa, your boys, and Gladiatori from Italy. And then you got Tsunami coming in from Latin America. It's going to be 4 brackets of 5 teams. Only the top 2 from each bracket come out. So 8 out of 20. And then they play a head-to-head wildcard round to get the 4 that go to play that are the champions already, who are awaiting their challengers. I feel the more that I think about this, the Champions Cup, and it's going to be really entertaining. It's going to be a little crazy. But the reason why I wanted Mike to come on is that if the Hurricanes went 4-0 at the last in a tough-ass bracket. The Hurricanes beat Heat, Thunder, Uprising, and Legion in 2 days to go undefeated and then they lose to you guys by 1 in the quarterfinals. They go a +6, and this is their second Sunday that they've made, and they've already taken a 6th place at the second event. So, I mean, no one saw this coming, dude. I mean, so anyway, what are your thoughts on the Hurricanes and this little baby rookie run that they've been on here? It's getting really interesting. What do you think?
Well, actually, I wasn't very surprised at all. I used to make the jerseys for the Hurricanes a couple years ago, and I followed them throughout their journey to the Pro Division. So, I've been watching them having success. I've known Drew Bell for a while, and I think that when they first came in, their very first game that they played in the Pro Division, they beat a good team. It might have been Aftermath. I can't remember, in Florida. Like the very first game of the event in Florida, I think they won pretty convincingly, or had some really close points and some one-on-ones. And so it wasn't very surprising to me. And just having watched them throughout the year, I think that they play smart. They shoot pretty well on the break. They're very calm in their pits. They have good communication. They have versatile attackers. They talk well on the field. We actually played them in Sacramento or Dallas, the second event of the year, and had a good game against them there. So, I mean, it wasn't very surprising to me. I don't really take anything lightly, and that's also the, like every game counts, right? Every game matters. Every point matters. So, just watching them throughout the season, trying to take them lightly, because, as soon as you start thinking you got gimme games, or nobody can beat you, then, that's when you come off your game. So I feel like you got to stay sharp, and those guys want it, I think, just as bad as in the league. So, it wasn't really surprising to me how well they've been playing throughout the season. And I know that they put in the work.
They definitely put the work in. And when you look at their roster, you're looking at a bunch of dudes that they're all grown ass men. They all have regular ass jobs, and they've been playing this game for a long time. But when they got here, I mean, just rookie pro teams don't really do all that well typically. Yes, historically, the X factors, the dynasties, you have these phenoms that come in, and those are different stories. Those are young kids on riding a wave, just going, kind of crazy with the paintball lifestyle. But this like blue collar baller situation, I mean, yeah, level is starting to get really good, and so I went back, checked the notes real quick. The New Orleans Hurricanes, they beat Uprising by the mercy rule in their very first pro game at the very first tournament at the Sunshine State. So like that's pretty sweet, and then they go and they lose by 1 to Impact in the very next game. So it was kind of a cool entry into the pro league where, to be honest, when I'm going around like, hey, what do you think about the Hurricanes? Calling people up. Hey, who are you picking up in the off season? Oh, you're going to give this dude this much money. Okay. What's up with the, calling other people, like, what do you think about the Hurricanes? Not one person was like, you know what, dude? I see the Hurricanes making a couple Sundays. I see them regularly beating top teams. I see them going undefeated in the prelims. That's definitely going to happen, bro. Like, just mark my words. Let's put some money on it. No one said that. And which, and here we go. This is what's possible. This is how interesting pro paintball is getting. And again, heading to the Champions Cup. The Champions Cup format is set up for heroic performances because you just need a couple good days. So if the Hurricanes go in with that same mindset, knowing they can pretty much beat anybody now. I mean, if they could beat Houston Heat and they could beat Legion and Thunder and an Uprising all in a 2-day period and go undefeated 4-0, yeah, dude, they could definitely show up and be a story at World Cup and somehow find themselves in the top 8 in that money round. Anyway, before we bring Mike in, Todd, you are doing something cool that I wanted to highlight and talk about a little bit, because as a Californian, has angered me a little bit how we have let the moniker of the Mecca of paintball slide and go to places like Texas, Florida, but it is kind of cool to see what the guys in New England are doing, what the guys up in the Pacific Northwest are doing, Corey Field, all those guys down in obviously Texas has just been crushing it, so, but now you've started to work with the guys at Giant Paintball Park, and you're starting to do a lot of different, be more involved in kind of like reigniting the scene. I know you've also been into Texas, to go to their park, but also been working here in Southern California, at the field here in San Diego, Hollywood Sports Park, SC Village. So kind of talk to me about the mindset behind that. Hopefully, we can, jumpstart. Again, the scene has been good and getting better. Obviously, we got Dynasty holding the line. Ironman took that second place, and we do have some bright shining lights in the divisional ranks, but I'm a little greedy as a Southern Californian. I want more. So what are you doing to bring us some more here? Give me the goods.
Yeah, shout out to Mike Hinman, first of all, for holding down the West Coast all these years. We're playing the ENXL over here, going to Chicago and Florida twice and Philly. We need some West Coast events, Doc. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm getting all these freaking flyer miles, but I sure would love to have an event on the West Coast. But no, a couple months ago, actually talked to Bear DeGidio and Gio DeGidio with Giant, SC Village, Hollywood Sports. And Bear's like, you know what, man? Like, I really want to bring back the SoCal scene. And he basically, we had a conversation, and he was like, what if I basically said, here's carte blanche to do whatever kind of events you want to do at the parks here in Southern California. So I've been working with Bear and his team, lots of cool guys over there, very talented group. And we're basically just having fun events at all the parks, right? SC Village, Hollywood Sports, Giant Paintball in San Diego, and we got some stuff going on at Giant in Dallas as well. But really, we're just trying to do fun stuff for all the guys that, play competitive paintball around here. But really what the goal is to get the guys that are playing walk-ons, kind of like how we do with the URPL, guys that are playing regularly that want more out of paintball, to start getting into the tournament style paintball, that the same way that we got into it back in the day when there was, not a whole lot of, concept type fields, right? When SC built the hyperball fields, and then they cleared out space for the airball fields, and we were driving up to SC Village every weekend. We want to bring that back. I've gotten the chance to go out and do a street ball day, which was just, pickup games like we really used to do at SC Village back in the day. Just show up, get a bunch of guys, throw together games, meet new people. We had one last weekend at Giant in San Diego. Got to work with the teams out there called Al Fernandez. He came out. Dan Norcross came out. Shout out Coco Blanco. You know what I'm saying? We went out there, played together, and, just had a fun time. Like, got to meet the guys out there. And, for me, it's fun because, I get to see players play that I've never seen play before and meet new people. And, there's guys out there that got game, right? And sometimes guys get stuck in, their neighborhood or don't get an opportunity to be seen. But, we really want to rebuild the community, right? Try and get people to come from Giant in San Diego to come up to SC Village and play. I met a couple guys. All three of them were wearing Ronnie Dizon jerseys, right? And I recognized them because they were wearing the Ronnie Dizon jerseys when I met them up at Glenn's Field at Ambush in Moore Park, Glenn Forster. And they drove 2 hours to come play the street ball day at Giant in San Diego in Lakeside, and that's really what we're trying to do here. So, at the end of the day, it's really just about, me being here from San Diego, Bear giving me an opportunity to do fun stuff, because for me now I get to go play paintball more. It even got me playing paintball more. I played X-ball twice now this year, and I haven't played X-ball in years. I played one 10-man tournament a year for the last couple of years. Even when the girls were young, I didn't play paintball at all. I was only gone for when I was coaching. And now, like, we got a whole calendar of events coming up. We're doing street ball days. We're going to do a 10-man at SC Village, just like OG, a hyperball 10-man. We got some big one-on-one tournaments coming up, putting up big money for winners, right? So this year, the rest of this year, if you go to the Hollywood Sports or the SC or the Giant Instagram pages, you can see the calendar of events and all the different things that we're doing. And next year, we're really going to hit it hard. But coming up the next couple weekends, we have Decay of Nations, which is the big game. Are you going to go?
What's the date on that again?
The Decay of Nations is this weekend. It's this weekend. Are we going to go up again? Are we going to go?
Wait,
it's this weekend.
As in like tomorrow?
Yeah. Oh, wait, what's today?
Fuck.
Yes, tomorrow.
It's the first?
Come up on Sunday?
Maybe, I don't know. Damn it. I really wanted to go to this one.
Yeah, sorry. Time's
Yeah.
flying here.
Yeah, I know. Time's flying.
Moves
We
to be
got it.
made.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, dude, I'm telling you, this is like Matty and Todd talking. We need to blow the shit up on big games and fun shit on. This is how Todd and I talk when we're just hanging out. But dude, for the next year, because there's so much cool stuff that we need to do. Like there's just so like because I feel like there's a paintball renaissance that's happening because you have the young people that are getting excited about all this different variety of paintball. And then you have people, you know, again, in all these different places, you got the people in the Northwest and the Northeast and Florida and Texas and, you know, the Midwest and Cali. And like, and then even all this international, like people that are older, I wanted to play mech and big games and one-on-ones and like pump guns stuff. And then you have these kids that are seeing, anyway, there's just a lot of cool stuff there. So I'm super excited. You and I could just kind of go down the rabbit hole, which we should, and we need to here soon. But yes, I fully support this. I think it's awesome. And you can kind of see Nightball starting to seep in different places too. People are putting up lights at their fields. It's getting awesome. So I'm really digging the kind of this paintball renaissance that's happening. I think it's gonna be great for everyone involved. And hopefully get, you know, everyone is always like hashtag grow the game, but it's really easy to sit on your social media and say, you know, post a picture and be like, yeah, hashtag grow the game. But then to actually get, you know, in the metaphorical trenches here, or actually like literally get in the trenches at SC Village or wherever your local field is and like duke it out in like a big 500 big game, like, which maybe I'll do that on Sunday. I got to talk to the lady here a little bit, but anyway, all right, let's move on. We got to bring Mike in. We got some stuff to talk about. I know he's all about this sort of stuff because he's definitely on that, you know, paintball Zen side of things. Mike Bianca, how you doing, bud? Welcome to the show. I feel blessed to have you here, man. I'm so excited about what you're doing with the Hurricanes.
Doing well. Thank you. I apologize for the Bohemian Rhapsody look here, but you know, it's dark over here and we're just hanging out. So by the way, I was really enjoying listening to all of this. It's incredible. That's amazing, Todd. That's great news to hear about all that expansion. That's fantastic. I thought you guys would be at ICPL this weekend.
Well, again, it's been busy. I wanted to go, but it's just, again, with like Todd said, and Mike, I'm sure you're starting to feel this too, but when you're doing a ton of different paintball stuff, it's like things start stacking. And then some weekends you just, you know, we got a lot coming up here. So like ICPL, I'm like, I really want to go play some 10-man, but I don't know if we got Cup coming up and we got, you know, we're doing behind the scenes stuff with Go Sports as far as filming stuff at practices. And so, yeah, dude, it's, you can't make them all. I'm not 25 anymore.
You're preaching to the choir.
So, Mike,
I'm lucky because Bear's letting me do these every weekend. I got stuff every weekend, Matty. So whenever you got something you want to come, you know, just hit me up. I guarantee I'll just tell you where I'm gonna be at. You can come be out there. Mike, you can come too. Roll out to Sally, babe.
That's what I'm saying. Like I said, I got ideas. So Mike, I want to pick your brain about a bunch of things and kind of, you know, have you and Todd maybe go back and forth too. If you have some questions for each other, I think that would be interesting. You guys have battled against each other here. Essentially, you know, you beat them in the prelims. Definitely everything matters, but they definitely beat you guys on Sunday. And that's kind of been the rub with a lot of these up and coming teams. I kind of want to just dive into the deep water here, Mike, right out the gate and ask you this question, because to me, what I think is, you know, if we're going to get to the bone marrow of the conversation for these up and coming squads, and this means, you know, you guys level, I mean, I would even say Thunder, whatever, Diesel is in this category. Any team that's made a Sunday in the past 3 years that's a new pro team that has yet to get past that first round. You know, Level has made it past, but and so this is kind of becoming a theme. So a team is really good. They show up on the pro league and they prove themselves. And okay, everyone needs to concern themselves with this squad. Everyone has to respect that team and its methodology and how it approaches the game, or we could take a L to this squad, and that's going to mess us up here in our road to try to take this victory. So, and then you give them that respect, but then almost to a team, again, it's just been so difficult to break through the different tiers that exist on Sunday. The first tier is making it to Sunday and then dealing with that mentally. Then you get getting through that first mountain to climb, which is you get that first win on Sunday, and then you get a little bit deeper into the tournament. And if you have to start in the wild card round, yeah, you get a smaller mountain out the gate, but it's still, now you got to win 4. So we're going to go back and forth on this, but that's my question. What do you think it is that these, because I know you're a cerebral guy, and this is, I feel like, a question right up your alley, is that what do you think is lacking from these younger teams on Sunday? Why are they not, even though they can beat these teams in the prelims, but it's been very difficult for the younger up and coming pro squads to beat any of the top teams on Sunday to advance past that first level?
It's a fascinating question. If I were to have to take a stab at it, and without being in their pits and without being around them regularly, to me it all points to culture. I think one of the keys to success with the Hurricanes has been that we've built a very specific culture from the get-go. First of all, thank you very much for the kind words, both you, Matty, and Todd. We greatly appreciate that. It means a lot coming from people like yourselves. I think the culture is, there's a famous Spartan quote, you bleed at practice, so you don't bleed at war, and I think the culture of that mental state of understanding, we set very basic goals, and you're very familiar with them, Matty. However, that doesn't mean we don't go to these events expecting to win, right? So we want to go there. We have those specific goals we want to meet, but we're bringing our A game. And if you're not prepared to bring your A game, if you're going through motions, or maybe you had a fight with your girlfriend, or you missed your favorite cartoon, I don't know, but something happens that makes you click. And I think what you're seeing from teams like Heat, and you've got that you're constant flipped on, you're constantly switched on, because that's what winners do. And I think that's the key. The culture of winning starts with, it starts with repetition. It starts with preparation. It starts with that concept of, I deserve to be here. I want to be here, and darn it, I'm going to make the best of it when I can. So I think it's a culture thing, personally.
Todd, do you think that it is an always switched on mentality? Because, it is interesting with Heat, because you guys will drop points, you'll drop games, but if you just look at your record, I mean, again, just this year, 5 events so far. We're heading into Champions Cup. You guys get a bye. You're ranked 3rd overall, without even having to win one of the majors. You're still get a bye, because that's how consistent you guys have been. Also hilarious, because I remember talking to Ryan Moorhead, and everyone's like, "Oh, Matty, remember that speech that you gave on the hill about, oh, we got to take an 8th or a 10th as long as we win tournaments?" And I remember Ryan Moorhead being like, "That's what Heat's all about, Matty. That's what we do too." But it's funny, because since that, I've had that conversation with Ryan 4 or 5 years ago. Heat's been super consistent. Like, yeah, they win tournaments, but again, 6th, 3rd, 2nd, 6th, 4th, 3rd overall, buy into the top 4. It's so, is Heat always switched on? Like, how does that work from your perspective, from your teammates and your stars perspective?
I'd like to say, yeah, because we started doing Friday practices before most teams would fly in on a Friday, or, get together on Saturday morning for the first time. And I feel like we started doing the Friday drill days last year. And since then, I've seen quite many more teams start doing Friday days. So we're putting in the extra time. We're putting in the extra focus. We're having more conversations, getting more reps, and spending more time together on and off the field. So, we're switched on because we're more focused on it. We've also, since last year, we'll go practice Friday drill day, Saturday, Sunday practice, and then fly home, and then go to the event, or to like a close field of where the event is, and we'll stay there. We'll come in Thursday, drills again Friday, Saturday, Sunday scrimmage, Monday off, Tuesday drills again, Wednesday travel to the event, Thursday play. So we're just getting that much more time, right? But the funny thing is, I want to show you this, Mike, too. Hold on one second.
Oh, what is it going to be?
I don't know.
I thought I had my my book right here. I actually just did a clinic, a coaching clinic in Denver the weekend after Chicago. And number one thing that I have on the top of the sheet, what makes a good coach, right? And I have a list of stuff. And number one is building and establishing your culture. So, to Mike's point, like I just went over and told, 10 coaches of teams, like, what you need to do your job the best you can do is decide who you are, who you're going to be, and what's the path to achieving that culture that you want to establish, right? Like there was a thing on football the other night when the Steelers were playing, and it says the standard is the standard, right? Yeah, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's interesting because that is also another big elephant in the room when you have teams like Impact or Heat, or even when Legion comes over, and then these up and coming squads who it's harder for them to train. I mean, and Mike, how do you guys deal with that? I mean, there's an old boxing saying, multiple people have said this over the years, but it's, paraphrasing, I might butcher this slightly, but essentially the gist of it, the guts of it is that, there are people out there fighting for their dream, knowing that their opponents are training harder than they are. They know that, and I can't fathom those people. And multiple people have said that in different ways, but in a lot of ways, it's the meat hook realities for a lot of teams coming up the ranks. Divisional teams trying to be pro. The semi-pro story is getting really fascinating too. Here, pushing towards this end of this year. And then now we have this awesome story of the Hurricanes as this rookie pro team. But Mike, how do you guys deal with that? I mean, I know you seem to be very succinct with your practices from what you've told me and what I've heard, knowing that when you go in, you need to make the most of your time because you got dudes with regular lives, regular jobs, and can't necessarily, maybe drill on a Thursday randomly. How do you deal with that? Like, what's the answer to that?
That's another great question. Ben Franklin said, "Well done is better than well said." He also said that without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning. So when you're talking about hurdles and struggles like that for teams like the Hurricanes, we have to think outside the box. So to Todd's point, we're probably one of those rare semi-pro teams when we were semi-pro that were practicing on Fridays. We would try to do it. And now understand, we weren't practicing together. We were all in our separate areas, and everybody was getting out there doing that. And then everybody would report in what they did that day. It got that kind of, we ran it like, look, if we're going to put that word in front of our team, professional, then darn it, we're going to act and do as much as we can to put on a professional performance. And that's how we look at it each time. We take this serious. Yes, we have those jobs and our families are priority. 100%. Right. Right now, if my wife or children, something happened with them, the guys, that's what's great about the culture, right? The guys would be like, go to them. Right. So you talked about family as well earlier. So it's that big support system within the team where we support each other, we build each other, we hold each other accountable. So when we are at practice, we are at practice 100%, whether it's that Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m. and everyone's checking gear, everybody is on that field together. And we stay there till the job's done. So some practices will go from 7:30 to 3:30. Some practice will go from 7:30 to 6:30. So it's until we feel that we've got the work in that we know is necessary. And it was really good. And I'm going to jump the shark here a little bit. It was really good to hear Todd talk about, watching, I felt we had a great approach to the field. I was ready. I was set. Everything was good to go. And then I watched those morning games and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
People are destroying people from the snake. What's happening?
That's right. I was like, our kill ratio on the snake was 80 and 93%. What's going, so we obviously were going to play the snake. It was a risk reward thing, but at the same time, I remember, so I feel Todd's pain there, but I remember looking at it and watching that going, no, plan's good. Stick with the plan. We can't change it up here, and like Todd, it's incredible how much Todd, and I apologize if I'm sounding ridiculous, but it's incredible how much we have in common in the fact that we haven't played an event with our entire squad yet. And we've got injuries and we've got all these things go. Yeah. In Chicago, I didn't have Mike Brown, who's one of our best communicators and D-side attackers. I had Aaron Pate was injured, and of course he played lights out.
He still played good.
Before, and I had Justin Bailey, who missed an entire layout practice. Of course, he had very good reason. So stuff like that. To your point, Matty, you just got to focus. You got to be in the moment and present. When you're there to do work and to do paintball, then that's what we're doing. No one talks about Saturday morning cartoons. No one sits there and talks about their girlfriend or that. It's paintball.
No,
So
it's
I guess
and it's
that's
just,
how we do it.
No, it's great though, and I just feel like, and I would like your thoughts on this too. But again, the non-charitable read from the haters on teams like Heat or Impact or even a Dynasty, or again, people not giving you the time of day when you guys first came up, but they hear this like, oh, this family thing, it's such bullshit. It just doesn't make any sense because I mean, maybe that's just not how their teams are, but it's just when you are doing one of the reasons I love paintball is it's so difficult. I mean, I grew up playing baseball, incredibly difficult to hit a round ball with a round bat. If you do it well 3 times out of 10 professionally, you're in the Hall of Fame and making $100 million every couple of years. I love golf. Golf is incredibly difficult. Seems so simple. The ball's just sitting on the ground. Everyone has to shut up while you hit it. Piece of cake, right? And then the gunfight involved, within the matrix and the format of paintball. It's so fascinating, but so difficult. And so when you do something that's very difficult, that requires a ton of effort and time and commitment and sacrifice, then you start building these cultures like you guys had spoken about. And I do feel that ultimately when people ask me, how do you build a successful paintball team? I do think it does start with the culture, because you have to get people to buy in. And not only do they need to be able to want to spend the time to do it, but they have to sell the story to their better halves and the people involved in their life, and to give them the time to do that. So it's not just the story they're telling themselves, it's the story they're telling the world, so that it doesn't seem absolutely ridiculous to spend that time doing something that's as difficult as this. Anyway, so, and if you, and just real quick, I do want to get your, I'd love to keep you guys here picking your brains all night, but is I want to talk about your squad specifically here, because I feel, when we talk about undercover, or so for Houston Heat, I feel Ryan Smith is still a guy who is just not getting the credit that he deserves, because that dude's super athletic. You give him a lot of spins, and he's been good for a while, but the past couple seasons, I love his timing, his athleticism, again, his aggression. But when I look at the Hurricanes are just full of dudes that are not recognized. Why? Because I mean, it's still, people look out there and like, oh, who is that dude? We still do it too. I'm like, who was that on the D side that just made that amazing move? And that's how it works, though. It takes a long time in any sport for people to recognize the people that are doing it at an elite level on a regular basis, enough where I gotta earn or learn Aaron Pate's name. I'm like, oh, who is that dude with the curly hair? Oh, Pate. Oh, who's this? Look at my roster. That's a couple times in a row that guy's been tearing it up. Oh, Pate. Or your center guy. You got Stewart up there. Just, I feel, one of the elite snake player or middle players of the entire year. I voted for him for the All-Star game. That's how good I thought he played in the beginning of the season. And Todd and I talked about this. And again, All-Star game also coming up at World Cup. Looking forward to that. Postponed because of the crazy weather we had at Chicago. There's a lot going on at World Cup. It's going to be a crazy weekend. But that's how good Stewart's getting. And Todd talked about, so Todd and I behind the scenes, Mike, we had, both had votes on this. You had vote on this too. But to me, I voted for the guys that this year played at an all-star level. There were no legacy votes on my all-star team. It was all guys who played at an elite level this year in the events that I saw until I was handed that spreadsheet. That's who got my votes. So a guy like Connor Kelly is ending up on my list. A guy like Stuart Ridgel is ending up on my list, because I feel that based on what I've seen, watching every single point of pro paintball play this year, that dude deserves to be an all-star. So again, I got some questions about Champions Cup and other things I want to throw at you. But Mike, let's talk about your roster real quick, because I feel like some of these names people need to start remembering. So let's start with Stuart up the center for you, because I feel like he's been pretty elite. Tell me a little bit about Stuart Ridgel.
Well, Stuart also, the best way to define Stuart is your stalwart leader. He's the captain of the team. And Stuart was the one who actually called me. He says, we're missing something, and we think you're the part we're missing. And
Really?
I remember telling Stuart, and I'm like, wow, you guys don't need, you guys seem to be doing fine on your own. I'm not sure if that's the case, but when I got down there and we met, we just had a meeting of the mind. And the meeting of the mind was, hey, we want to be the best. We want to be the best we possibly can be. Let's do that. We're not half-assing anything. We're not phoning anything in. Let's go. And so Stuart's that guy that, the rest of the guys on the team, he's the first guy on that field. He's the last guy to step off. So he's got that leadership capability, as well as the fact that he's just an outstanding paintball player. He can play more than the center. I just happen to utilize him there because he makes great reads. Another guy to talk about, obviously we've already touched on Aaron Pate. Aaron Pate, I think I told you early in the season, you asked me to give you a description. I said he's our Swiss Army knife. And his twin Swiss Army knife is Daniel Camp, both of which have 3 one-on-one coins, by the way. And we just added another one-on-one coin winner from this last event, Britt Simpson, one of the hardest working guys in paintball. Super quiet, funny dude, by the way. I understand you guys have some history. And,
yeah. And also the dude, I'm like, hey, Britt, can you please put your shirt on, bro? You're making us all dad bod dudes look really bad right now, bro.
I know. He's got no neck. He's jacked. So, but, and of course, the opposite of Britt Simpson and his ape-like, stature is my D-side killer, Jacob Seawright. I mean, he went off this last event. What people don't know about this guy? This guy's getting his doctorate, right? So you want to talk about a little bit additional stress and distraction from the game, but he comes in and puts in the work, and he's incredibly cerebral player. So Mike Brown, we talked about Mike Brown, great communicator, great survivability. He's solid on that front. And of course, obviously you can't not talk about Drew Bell. Drew Bell is probably, in my opinion, he's an elite gunfighter in this sport. I really do believe he is when it comes to gunfighting. Very few guys are, I think eventually if his, we're a little bit older than most rookie teams, but if he stays at it, I'm pretty sure he's going to go down in the annuals. And of course I got a shout out to my boy, Justin Bailey. Justin Bailey is he's the best teammate in paintball. He's that guy that I plug when somebody's tired or he can play anywhere. He's an insert player, and he's a great communicator. He's a solid gun, and he's that guy who's picking everybody up. He's slapping people on the butt and saying, get out there and kill some people. I mean, he's that dude that makes things happen. And there's, everybody. And then, of course, Aaron Smith. Todd, I felt, by the way, FYI, we keyed up on George. I said, if I let George breathe anywhere near that snake, we're in a little bit of trouble. So I did. I put, and then when you started using him in the center, we keyed up on that tower too. That's why so I was like, we can't let George breathe. So that was literally
he
part
gets
of the
that
game plan. He does. I know. So, but my own snake player, Aaron Smith, I told him, you got the toughest role. Yeah. I said, you got the toughest role on this squad, bro. You're playing the hardest role on this layout. This layout is going to be hell for a snake player, but the risk reward is great. And of course it was great because I got to use him in a little bit different way too, put him out there. They think, okay, they're going far. And next thing you know, he's up in the gut with Stu. And I enjoy doing those things. I like to be difficult to scout because I do have paintball players, not just specialists. And I like to leverage them that way. So I'm pretty sure I've caught everybody. If I've missed anybody, I'm going to get, boy, am I going to hear it. But I'm pretty sure.
No, I think you got everyone. Bailey, Bell, Camp, Pate, Ridgel, Searlight, Simpson, Smith, unless I'm missing somebody too. I feel like that's everybody.
There's only 8 of us. Yep.
And
Mike Brown.
Well, here's the thing. So when we brought Todd on, we started talking about this. Like, this is one of the reasons why is Houston Heat so good? Why are they so consistent? Because if Fedorov's having a bad day, well, probably the chances of Ronnie, Fedorov, and Ryan Moorhead all having a bad day at the same time, like to attack on the D side, probably not going to happen. Like one of those guys is going to be pretty good. And then same one on the snake side. So, it's because Ryan can play over there too. Ronnie can play over there too. Obviously they got Chad George. So it's like when you look at a Houston Heat and then up the center, they got tons of dudes who can play up the center. Mishka can play up the center. Chad Boucher can play up the center. Tyler can play up the center. Whatever. Ryan Smith can play up the center. Ryan Moorhead can play up the center. So when you're playing a Houston Heat, and Todd's looking at his roster, there's probably not too many days when his badass all-star roster is going to have so many guys on a slump where it's like, man, I can't get 5 studs out there right now. And so that's why the Hurricanes have been so consistent and why it's also been kind of hard to figure out who your dudes are. Cause you got a couple twins out there, a couple tall guys, a couple stout dudes, but I'm looking out and I'm watching these guys play and I'm like, okay, well that dude had a really good one. Let me try to figure out who that was. Oh, okay, there's another tall
Right.
Bell. Okay, sweet. And then the next time, then another guy's out there, Camp's tearing people up, and I'm like, okay, another tall dude. Anyway, so it's the contribution from everyone is definitely bolstered and added to your consistency, and also made it hard to scout because again, people are trying to figure you guys out too. So it's only Mike, it's only going to get harder for you because then like you said, you're playing Heat. It's like, we got to shut down Chad George, bro. We can't let Chad George get into this snake, or let's put two guns over here.
Right.
And eventually they're going to start doing that to your guys as well too. So just get ready for that.
Well, I believe adaptation is the key, right? And that's something I try to bring to the team. But at the same time, the key obviously is discipline to goals. That's kept us pretty locked in on improving our game. We want to get better each event. And for the most part, I think we've seen some success on that front, but heck, we want to get better each time we step out on the field, whether it's the practice field, the parking lot, right? Going to get paint. Let's get more efficient. Let's find efficiencies. Let's find ways to improve. So it's a continuous improvement environment, and that's what we go for.
So I want to get you guys' thoughts here because we're looking at this from two completely different perspectives heading into the Champions Cup. We have an incredibly established superstar team, proven winners. They've been there. They've done that. They won multiple World Cups. We now have the Champions Cup, different format here held at the World Cup. We'll discuss the intricacies of that. So that's Houston Heat now getting a bye into the top 8. And then now we have the Hurricanes. Pretty amazing rookie season here. And if you guys, as you and I were kind of talking behind the scenes, Mike, if you guys go 4-0, essentially it's a little bit different format, but if you have as good of a start as you did in Chicago at the very last event, playing really good teams, beating a Heat, beating a Legion, beating an uprising or an up and coming team like Thunder, going undefeated. If you have that same run, not to put pressure on you guys, but you have to believe what's possible and understand what's probable based on the most recent occurrence, which is what we're just speaking on right now. So we'll start with you, Mike. Knowing the way that the Champions Cup format's working, are you going to have some teams? You may draw one of the teams that you don't know anything about, so it's those top 3 teams go on with the Tauntauns and they get that bye into the quarters. And then now we're going to bring in Tsunami from Latin America. We're going to bring in Breakout Spa. We're going to bring in Gladiatori from Italy. And then now that's the 20 teams. It's going to be 4 brackets, 5 teams, top 2 teams. So only top 8 move on out of that prelims. Do you like this? Is it, are you a fan of this? Not a fan? Be honest. I would like to get your opinion on how this is going to go down. Again, for me as a fan and as somebody that's wants to get excited about this, it seems very dramatic because of the way this is going to go down, but it's got to be a little intimidating because you do have to go on a bit of a run. There's not much, we can squeak in as that wild card. And no, you need to finish top 2 of your bracket to move on. And then you go head to head. You got to win that one. And then the top 4 moves on to play, the champions already. So what are your thoughts on this crazy new format we got?
Well, I think you used an appropriate adjective. I think it's certainly dramatic. Honestly, I feel a little bit, I feel like the top 3 teams, I feel like they're being cheated a little bit of their World Cup experience, but, and none of those 3 teams, I think, are every.
I was going to say, Todd will get a chance to talk in a second. I'm interested to see what he thinks about it.
But don't get me wrong. I'm not upset that I'm not pulling a Heat in the prelims again. So I'm excited about that opportunity. But well, let me jump back to what you were saying. First of all, there is no pressure. There's no pressure. Like I said earlier, we care about the first point. We care about the second point. We play 1 point at a time. We play 1 match at a time. So, we used to joke about this. We used to say, I don't care who's in front of us. As long as we play our game and we do it the way we need to do it, then we'll be fine. And so that's how we look at anything. That's how we look at when we approached Russia.
Just real quick. Everyone says that. Everybody says that. Everyone's like, all right, we're going to play the Texas Timbertick paintball. And you know what? We're going to get to our spots and we're going to just roll our guns. We're going to get our kills. We're going to do our thing. Everybody says that, but you guys actually did that this year. So, and that's why, that's why we got you on the show to talk. Cause it's impressive,
Yeah. But that's because we legitimately believe that, you heard me talk about it the last time I was on here. I think you heard me talk about, that's noise, right? It's easy to get distracted by the noise. Hey, if you do this, if you can just do this, you might be top 8, or you might do. We don't think about that. We think about how can we be the best team we can in that moment. And I think that's what's led to that success. It goes back to that culture aspect. I might care if things go south. Obviously, I'll care, but I don't care about the draw per se, and the fact that we still have to show up. It doesn't matter. We don't control who they're going to put in front of us. So whoever they put in front of us, we have to beat. So that's our role.
Let me dig for a
But
little
I do
drama
find
before
it
we bring-
exciting.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say, let me dig for a little drama, just because I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't. But okay, so yeah, like you said, no dynasty, no impact, no heat. Those teams are not going to be playing in the prelims against you guys. They're just going to be they're going to play their own little round robin fun seeding round where, oh cool, I'm first or I'm fourth. Like, who really cares? Because who knows who's going to get picked out of the hat when we actually get to that point. So they're just kind of warming up, right? Those are going to be fun exhibition games too. But because that's kind of what they are. Like, again, yeah, they're for seeding, but who knows whether the first seeding is going to be better than the fourth when we actually get to that. But so those teams aren't going to be there. Who do you want to draw? Who do you feel that your team matches up well against right now? I mean, is there somebody that you have on your hit list that you haven't played that you want to play, that you want to beat? Any grudge matches at all that you guys have practiced against? I just got to ask, what do you think?
Well, we made a joke about the last event. We called it the Revenge Tour because we thought for sure, and you got to throw Uprising in there as well, because we thought they were certainly seeking revenge. We wanted some payback with Heat in Dallas, and we wanted payback with Russians, because of Kissimmee. And so no, there's no grudges here. We just enjoy the sport, and of course, you understand a lot of us had these guys on our walls, posters, growing up. So it's one of those things that if I had to pick a team that I really want to play, it's probably because he's a very close friend of mine, and that would be the Ironmen, because of Shane Pastana. And he's a good friend of mine. And we joke about it. If we pull each other, the gloves are coming off, baby. And I said, and I even told him, I made a joke when I said, well, if you beat me on the field, I'm just going to whoop your ass in the parking lot. So it's no. So the
good luck with that, Mike. Good luck with that.
So
he's scrappy.
No,
I've wrestled Shane before.
Oh, I know. I'm quite aware. But I think we have a style we adapt well. So we adapt well to different playing styles, and we can play fast, we can play slow, we can do a hybrid of it. I'm looking forward to the draw simply because I am looking forward to someone we haven't played yet. I would love to play Damage. I'd love to see where we stack up against Damage. I mean, they're such great gunfighters. I want to know where we stand. I would love to find out where we stand with Dynasty. Of course I would. But I'm not stupid. I don't want to sit there and say, well, give me Dynasty and Damage, Heat, and Russians. Although that would be champion-like behavior. But long story short, yeah, I think I like everybody here, and I want to pull everybody here. I want to see everybody's game because I'm a data guy, so I want data.
Well, it's gonna.
I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, that's fine. I was just seeing if there was something I didn't know about. If there was somebody on the team was like, oh well, Pate can't stand the Russians, so can't wait to pound those dudes into the grass. That would be tight. Or Stewart and Heat got beef, or I don't know. I have no idea. So I just figured I'd at least ask the question.
No, we're the most laid back crew you'll ever meet.
Yeah. So,
but that's so
we don't know what the draw is going to be, but. So again, you have the 20 teams other than so no Dynasty, no Impact, no Heat. Damage kind of, again, not making Sunday. I feel a little bad for Damage because, they were sitting on the precipice of potentially getting that bye and had their roughest tournament of the year, taking 15th place, going 1-3 in the prelims, and then now destined to be the top team playing down in that preliminary round. And then we're going to add in Gladiatori. They're not going to have probably Kyle Berry and some of their mercenaries. I'm wondering if Axel's going to play for the Tauntauns or going to play for Impact. They both are, going to have the bye into the top 4. That's going to be an interesting conversation. And then breakout spot, man. I mean, breakout spot. Todd, before we kind of head on and talk about, your perspective in Heat with Champions Cup, you coach breakout spot. It's essentially the same dudes. You got Nick and Alan and, and Quentin Duchesne and all those dudes just kind of, I feel from what I saw in England where they won, becoming what we thought they were going to be, at least there. And then I know that, and then the Tauntauns go and they win to get the bye, but the breakout spot could have easily won that. In another universe, they won that tournament as well too, and won 2 in a row. They're looking pretty good right now, and they had Skinny Kevin as their coach, and they had Jesse Stevens, but they don't have a ton of imported superstars. So I feel like they got a legit chance. What do you think?
I loved coaching that team. That was probably some of the funnest 4 years of my life. We definitely won Germany that one year when the Russians cheated us. I still claim that one, but those guys, like, there's a lot of really talented guys on that field. They really play for each other. Another team that has a lot of fun together. And for them, it's really just about consistency, right? Consistency, focus, getting everybody to contribute at the same time. But the talent level is definitely there with Breakout Spa. They do a lot of things well. They communicate well. They have good guys that gunfight well. And they've all gotten better, over these last 4 or 5 years. So I really believe that they're going to give some teams a run for their money out here. And, they got my boy Alan Golding, of course, and then Quentin Duchesne, the llama. You know what I mean? You know about the llama, right?
Oh, I know about the llama. He looked really good in England, dude. He was tearing people's heads off.
Yeah.
He looked outstanding.
Yeah. Big Mo.
And Nick
Big Mo.
Ripple.
Gotta love him.
Big Mo.
Yep. Shout out Nick Ripple.
Nick Ripple was lights out too, dude. And Axel played great too. Owner of the team. He had some really good points. That team looked deep. There was a reason why they won England, man. They were stacked.
Axel's the wild card. You know what I mean? If Axel can show up, play great. Axel won a lot of one-on-ones. If you were doing coins back in the day,
he's the
Axel
Harris Hussein
bag of coins.
Hey, bro, he's like the Harris Hussein of that team. He's not the smallest dude. He's thinner. He's a lot thinner than Harris Hussein, but he's got that sort of like the heavy gunfighting style, that timing. He's just gonna slide in there and like heavily gunfight you, and either you're gonna blow his head off or he's gonna blow your head off to take that spot. But he was definitely blowing some heads off for sure in England, and he played legit, man. I was very impressed. Axel played, and I'm excited to see Breakout Spa in that situation. All right, so before we sign off, a couple more questions here. Todd, got to get your thoughts. Champions Cup, obviously brand new, so a lot of people are like, "Oh, we're changing things. I hate it." Which initially, when I first heard it, I was also like, wait, hold on a second. How does this work? But the more that I've been putting my mind around it, as again, just a paintball fan, excited to go to World Cup to see what's going to happen. There's a lot of levels of drama in this one, and I think it's going to be pretty interesting. But I would love your thoughts on it. What do you think?
Well, I'm definitely excited for something new. It's definitely going to bring more drama and excitement to the week. I'm happy to get the bye just because, it's hard to go through everybody over multiple days. You never know who's going to show up. We get more opportunities to scout teams, but we also get a chance to play the field with those exhibition games. So if we weren't playing those exhibition games, I think I might feel a little differently about it. But because we do, I think that's a good opportunity for us to try a lot of stuff, try a lot of combos, play a lot of people, get loose, and we get to play the top teams, right? So it's not like, we're having some exhibition games against, a pickup team from, Abu Dhabi, right? We're just like, we're playing Impact Dynasty and the Tauntauns,
some dudes from Dubai want to get some spins on Thursday, dude. Let's show up at Central Florida Paintball, dog, from 1 to 3. Like, they'll pay for all the paint. Let's do it.
For sure. Yeah. So we're going to get some good warm-up games for sure. But I mean, I think it'll bring some excitement, a lot of money at stake. So that's pretty cool. And I mean, I'm just excited for it. World Cup is, where people come to watch Aftershock pound people, right? So,
so make sure you had to watch Aftershock play on the 10-man Mountains field for sure.
Yeah. So every time you're lucky enough to go play another World Cup, then it's a blessing. So I'm excited for the week.
Facts.
Yeah, for sure. Just last couple questions here. As far as other up and coming squads, this will be my last question here for you, Mike. up and coming squads, to me, that's, Level, that's, Thunder, ML Kings. You could even throw Diesel. I mean, Uprising is not an up and coming squad. They've been around forever. Energy, you could put them in there. But the Ironman's rebuild, maybe that too. Obviously, legendary name. New York Extreme is not an upcoming squad, but just, kind of these new teams. You guys are the best of the best right now. I mean, you guys are sitting at 9th place overall. You guys are in front of Legion, Thunder, Aftermath, ML Kings, Diesel, Energy Elite, Uprising, Ironman, New York Extreme, Latin Saints, and DMG. That's impressive.
Well, there's an asterisk next to that Russian one, though. Let's be honest about that. There's an asterisk there for the Russians. So
hey, it is. I get it, but they didn't play though. Like they didn't show up. I understand. Like there's a lot of things going on in everyone's lives. Obviously, there's extenuating circumstances, war, and all the bullshit going on over there. But they still weren't there. There have only been 3 events. It is what it is. As it stands right now, I honestly, like as people have had to drive, I had to drive during the COVID year twice to Texas to do a one-on-one event because the planes weren't flying. I had to drive to Northern California at one point 15 times in 1 year, 8 hours one way to get my practice in. Like if you can't show up, I don't really care what your excuse is. It just is what it is. Whether that's the birth of your family or a war or whatever it is, like this is what it is. You guys are ranked higher than Legion right now. That's thus it was written, thus it shall be. So, but other than that, that's and again, dude, I love every guy on that team. I respect their journey, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do at Cup. They can get their starting 5 there. But you guys are the best of the best of these up and coming squads as it stands right now here heading into Champions Cup. Who else is on your radar? Give me one name. Who is the other impressive team that you think, and again, like I'm taking Level a little out of this because they're to me like the next tier up right now because they're at 6th. So that's another conversation with where Level's at, I feel, in their game. They have been able to get past that first tier. What do you think? Because they took that 3rd. Other than Level, give me one name.
Other than Level, well then there's 2 names that are kind of battling back and forth in my mind there, obviously, and let's remove the Russians from that as well. I was going to say Level before you put in that parameter. I would have to say between Thunder and ML Kings. Those 2 teams, ML Kings have shown an incredible aggression that's working for them. They're stumbling a little bit here at them, but come on, 4 Sundays in a row, I think, before this last event?
4 Sundays in a row, but missed 2 Sundays in a row now.
That's correct. Yes, sir. And, but you still you can't count that team out. They've tasted it. And once you've tasted it, that it gets a little addictive. So I'm sure they'll be putting in the work to bring their best game. Everyone always does in, that sounds funny. Got any more of that? Anyway, Chappelle fan too. But then I got to turn around and talk to, Thunder. I would go get mine, but it's
look at that thing.
Yeah. Anyway, now he's flexing. He's just flexing on me.
Mike, he's trying to mess you up right now, bro. He's just trying to get in your head.
No, he's doing a great job.
It's the close of the show. He's like, I got to get a Mike's head before we sign off.
That's right. ML Kings, and then of course Thunder. I've had a little bit of chance to speak to their coach and some of their players, and Thunder surprised me at this last event. But they did stumble, but I think they pulled 17th. But Thunder, you can't really technically. You've got this great young group mixed with this experienced 5 guys. That's an amalgamation that should lead to success, and so far it has. So I think you can't take your eyes off them either. I think so. Either one of those squads are certainly going to be on radar, and people need to keep their eyes out. People realize they look at the Hurricanes, and maybe people think the Hurricanes are an anomaly. But if we can stay healthy and somehow figure out how to increase our budget, we might be a problem for a few teams. So,
and keep everyone together, because now people are starting to realize, like, obviously you got a lot of depth and you've been throwing different guys out there. So if I was given an unlimited budget and I had to cherry pick one of your guys and throw a bunch of money at him, honestly, I'd have a hard time picking who it would be. I'd probably go at Stewart first, just because he has played very masterful up that center. But it's very difficult. So Todd, last question to you before we sign off here is, so you guys, you earn the bye. You guys are going to be sitting top 8 no matter what happens. Worst case scenario, he takes 8th place, which would be 2 places underneath the worst that's already happened to you guys so far this year, with a 6th, a 3rd, a 2nd, a 6th, and a 4th. So, you know, the odds on money is that Houston Heat will probably be doing better than 8th place. And they've won World Cup, which is now the Champions Cup, held at World Cup multiple times. So you guys are going to be a favorite there. But since you guys are already in that, you know, up in that upper tier, in which we've discussed, and now that you're looking as we go down the rankings a little bit, maybe give me a couple names of teams that have impressed you this year. You know, is there anyone that you think that are peaking right now that people should, you know, when they're making their, when they're standing, you know, with their boys crushing beers and they're, you know, they're in the stands, they're at World Cup, they're throwing their dollar bills out. Who should people be looking at in those prelim rounds before they actually get a chance to, you know, to be that top 4 moving on to play in that top 8 in that quarterfinal round?
Well, I think Infamous is better than they've done this year. My picks are definitely going to be pretty much the same. I mean, like, I really like the ML Kings. I think that they have a young core.
Yeah,
I think that all those kids are very excited and hungry to play. I love the Thunder guys. You know, we practiced with them in San Antonio one time, but I sponsor both of those teams, right? Both the ML Kings and Thunder. So I love watching the ML Kings play. I love Thunder because it's Corey and you know, the guys that were on the team last year.
Yeah. And the Bears,
obviously Map, you know, Patty, GJ, you know, Scotty Graham, and then you got the Bears dudes who are absolutely hilarious. And so, like, I just love hanging out with those guys. But they play so well together, right? With, you know, Robbie being, he's been a killer. I've been watching him for,
he's been a killer 4
or 5 years now. Like, Robbie's a stud, right? And he's just the nicest guy. You know, he's very unassuming when it comes to everything. But Damage, always capable of winning events. Okay, I'll be right there.
And I want some chicken soup.
You got it, baby. Shay says she's hangry, so I'm gonna have to get it.
Hey, so tell her last question. We're about to sign off. It's all good. I'm hungry too.
I told her. So Thunder and the ML Kings for me. But I do feel the way I feel about the Hurricanes. You know, I think that the Hurricanes can beat anybody. And, you know, if they keep doing, you know, the things that they say they're going to do, you know, it's obvious why they're successful. So, you know, the surprising one that I think might come out of nowhere is going to be the Lucky 15s. So, I think Aftermath obviously has a shot. Damage can win. X Factor, we know. Level Revo. The Iron Men are going to be, you know, they're going to be coming, absolutely. But I think the teams that I really like are the ML Kings and Thunder. But I think the Lucky 15s, from having watched them play in Europe, you know, they could come out of nowhere as well.
Wait, but are the Lucky 15s going to make it? Because they're 5th overall and they didn't win.
Was it the Lucky 15s? They didn't make it?
Dude, honestly, I don't think they made
breakouts in that spot.
Yeah, so it's Breakout, and then the one, honestly, the one unknown is Gladiatory. I honestly, look, to be honest, like, I was really hoping the Lucky 15s would make it in, because I got a chance to hang out with those guys, and they were so cocky. They remind me so much of all of the stars I knew when they first came up. You know, like the Chris Lasoyas, Oliver Langs, the Todd Martinez's. Like, they were fun, but they had a big chip on their shoulder. Like, they knew they were good. And they were out there to try to prove it. So it's going to be, they didn't make it. So it's Tsunami coming in from Latin America, winning that one. Breakout and the Gladiatory, because Toulouse Tauntauns, the Tauntauns won the championship, so they go. And then you have the next top teams. The Breakout actually tied with the Tauntauns for overall, so they're going to be there. And then Gladiatory is at 3rd, so it should be Tauntauns, Breakout, and Gladiatory from Italy. Gladiatory has, like, it's like Slava's team, and they were pretty fun to watch, dude. They were pretty good. But they had they had Kyle Berry on the squad. So, you know, not going to be, so no mercenaries for these teams, right? Like, Breakout Spa doesn't really have, other than Jesse Stevens, didn't really have a ton of mercenaries. I could check their roster real quick from the last event. And then the Tauntauns, the big question with the Tauntauns is, I've heard that Axel's going to play with the Tauntauns. I have not checked with Axel personally. I need to make that message to see if he is going to, play with them. But, and then just looking at Breakout's roster. Yeah. I mean, Todd, it was Jeffrey, Quentin Duchesne, Allen, Dylan, Axel, Noah, and Nick Ripple. So they didn't have one mercenary at the last one.
Dylon.
So
yeah, don't sleep on
Dylon. Yeah.
Dylon,
anyway,
Dylon.
Yeah, so that's going to be the situation. But yeah, so I mean, how's Diesel going to show up? They finally made a Sunday and took 7th at the last one. I'm a big believer in the ML Kings. I keep telling everyone this and have been for a while. 4 Sundays in a row, but kind of, dude, I showed up in the parking lot, pulled up, ML Kings are right there. This is before Sacramento. I'm like, hey, I feel like this layout really could do well for you guys. Don't disappoint us. The people that believe in you, kind of like talking a little bit of shit. And they were, kind of seemed in the zone. But but honestly, they just haven't really looked like themselves the past 2 events. So they're going to be back in Florida. And if we get an offensive layout, which I'm guessing that, Jason is probably going to give us an offensive layout here for the Champions Cup. It's probably going to be a fun one. And yeah, I think the ML Kings could have a chance to get into that, to get out of the 20, the top 8 out of 20. Aftermath, we'll see. Uprising, have quietly made 2 Sundays in a row, but before taking that 2nd place. The Ironman had an abysmal event, losing every single game after a 2nd place. Their 2nd place finish was awesome. And then they roll in and go a -17, 11 points, scored 428 against, losing to everybody. But that team, I really like that new roster that the Ironman have. I mean, they really, they showed up and, so but who's going to show up for the next one? It's going to make it really entertaining. And then New York Extreme, after just being terrible for most of the year with the 17th, 12th, 19th, 10th, finally make a 9th place. And they went 3-1 in the prelims. And then you have the Latin Saints and DMG. And that's another thing. It's double points at Cup. So who's going to get relegated? And then who's going to move up? Because the semi-pro race is like a 4-team race. We're going to do some shows on that as we head towards Cup. So we got a lot more coming at you guys here at Go Sports and Excel as we move forward. Todd, Mike, thank you guys so much for joining us again. Todd, give everyone information. Where can they go to get more information about getting into some of the stuff that you're going to be doing to try to revive the scene down here in SoCal?
HollywoodSports.com is one, and scvillage.com is the other. Like I said, we got the big game at Decay this weekend at SC Village. And then for the next 2 weekends after that, I will be hosting practices for teams that want to pre-register at scvillage.com to come out. I'm basically running practice at SC Village for the next 2 weekends. So any teams that are training for the WCPBL, I will be out there running games, coaching, giving my unwanted opinions and about how people should be doing stuff. I'm picking the layouts. But if you go to the SC Village Hollywood Sports Instagram, you can see our schedule events, all the things that we're going to be doing. We got one-on-ones for cash. We got the big games. We got days. We got event practices and a whole lot more coming at you. So go follow Hollywood Sports and SC Village on Instagram. And of course, you can follow me and I'll give you all the inside scoop.
Mike, before we sign off, again, just congratulations on how you've handled this rookie season here for New Orleans Hurricanes. It's been really fun to watch. And I mean, who knows, again, what's going to happen here coming up in just about a month as we head towards the Champions Cup at World Cup. Anywhere you want to send people for more information about the team? I know you also run a blog and a website. I love your cerebral take that you have on the game, and it's definitely becoming apparent as you've done an admirable job here so far, at least, coach of the year for the rookies as far as these younger teams are concerned as we're heading into this last event. So where can people go to get more information about what you're doing and what the team's doing?
Well, if you want to follow the New Orleans Hurricanes, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, which is hurricanes.pb. So go check those out. Give us a follow. If you're interested in my thoughts on certain things, which most people aren't, but, it's what I do. You can go to zenandtheartofpaintball.com and you can read my latest take on the last event, actually, and get a little inside look on how we played the event, what was happening in the pits, what we were thinking, when and why. And so that's something. So Zen and the Art of Paintball. You can also find me on Instagram at ZenWap73, as well as follow my Zen page on Facebook. So.
Mike, Todd, thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for joining us again. We're doing this for you guys, for the paintball passionate human beings out there. As you know, there are a lot of really fun and charismatic human beings that are trying to give it a go and provide both entertainment and a place for people to play. Because at the end of the day, paintball does give a lot of gifts to your life, and definitely we try to embrace it as hard as we possibly can. And again, try to give you guys as much information and content as we possibly can. That's what we're trying to do here at Go Sports, and looking forward to the rest of this year and as we move forward. I'm Matty Marshall here in Go Sports. Todd again, Mike, best of luck at this last event. We'll see you guys next time.
Let's go! Let's go!